Let's move on, though, to another interesting story from today, a lawsuit that threatened one of the most iconic rock songs of all time. But a jury has decided that riff to Stairway to Heaven is not a ripoff. So that's a sampling from the 1968 song Taurus by a band called Spirit. Both the Trust for Spirit's late leader, Randy Wolf, and lawyers for Led Zeppelin agreed there were similarities between that and Stairway to Heaven. The Trust even proving that Jimmy Page and Robert Plant had access to Taurus, but ultimately the jury decided it couldn't be proven that Led Zeppelin actually heard the song, ruling in favor of Stairway to Heaven.
She's by him staring to heaven, and when she gets...
So we all know the song, and we probably all have an opinion on it. I'm curious about this guy's view. John Siddall is a CBC music producer and also a musician, a composer and a guitarist. And you think the jury made the right decision here?
I'm so glad that they made that decision. I am completely in agreement. Good call.
And why?
Well, Ian... This is actually a big win for the little guys in music.
Which I know seems counterintuitive, right?
Well, it does, and here's why. The similarity really lies in that minor chord and that little descending chromatic thing. But that's been used in music for hundreds of years. Like there's a piece of music from the early 1600s that uses that. I could point to some more contemporary popular songs like Chim Chim Cheree from Mary Poppins, or Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce, if you think of those songs that have that element in it. So it would be a little bit like, I'm going to copyright a D chord. Or to put it even more, in a more extreme form, I'm going to copyright the question mark. And nobody else can ask questions anymore. So in that sense, for all those composers in the world out there, it doesn't restrict them from the basic tools of making music.
So that obviously makes a lot of sense, but you know what bothered some people, at least in this case, is that it does seem that Led Zeppelin heard this other song, and it's more than just the chord progression, it's the style, the mood of it seemed kind of similar.
I guess, but there's so much more layered on. Like that piece of music, it's an instrumental piece, the original one, the Taurus is the name of the piece by a band called Spirit. Led Zeppelin, in their creation, adds so many more layers, and then the architecture, what they do with that. I mean, that's what makes Stairway to Heaven so magnificent in the end, is that sweeping arc of the whole song's form.
One other thing I'm wondering about, I hear so many composers talk about at least some of their songs just come to them. Sometimes they're asleep, they get up in the middle of the night, they write it down, or they sit at the piano and it's like, oh my goodness, this song just presented itself. So when that happens, it seems like you're susceptible to having something lurking in your subconscious, somebody else's song. How do musicians protect themselves from, without even trying to, from copying something they've already heard?
Well, I think the first thing is, if you're writing music, you have to respect the muse. If you get an idea, you go with it, you work on it, you create it, and then maybe you take it to somebody you know who really knows a lot of music, and see if they have a reaction to it. They go, oh, John, I'm sorry, but that really sounds like Stairway to Heaven. And you go, oh, yeah, actually, you're kind of right. Or you say, it's superficial, I'm really doing something different with it. I think it's fine.
Or I'll change it just enough to get away with it.
Just enough. And composers, their songs are like their babies.
Yeah.
If you're the one who's written that song that you feel has been stolen, it's understandable. It's your baby. It's your kid, and you want to protect it and make sure that it has its spot in the sun, right?
Well, a thoughtful insight and a provocative conclusion that this was a victory for the little guy.
It's a victory for the little guy.
John Siddall, thank you.
You're very welcome.